walls on the American-Canadian Beijing's place at Cartouche is sort of a signature.
I'm inside of the Great Guild Hall in Tallinn, Estonia. And from about the 1400s, this was the center of economic and social life of Tallinn. But why was there a guild in charge of this city? Why was the guild the center of social life? Well, that's because Tallinn was an important city in the Hanseatic League. This is out front of the Great Guild Hall. While taking a walk through the old town of Tallinn, let's go over the 5 W's of the Hanseatic League. Who is the Hanseatic League? It was a group of North German cities that banded together to create a confederation. So they weren't like a government. Don't think of them as a country. They were a union of different cities that traded and did business with each other. The Hanseatic League is not unique, but special because it was not dominated by religious, military, or royal men. It was dominated by merchants, mostly Germanic-speaking merchants, and in every town that joined the Hanseatic League, those merchants became the elite of that community. This is inside of St. Nicholas's Church, or the Nigalista Museum today. St. Nicholas was a good choice for a patron saint for this town because he's the patron saint of merchants and seafarers, and the Hanseatics were seafaring merchants. What? The Hanseatic League was an economic confederation. It means it was loosely knit. It's not a country, it's not a military alliance. It's just a group of cities that all agreed to follow common rules. They called it the Lubeck Law. The Lubeck Law included ideas that you would try to guard the roads against thieves and the seas against pirates, you would obey common trade rules, and you would try to lower or even eliminate import taxes. It's really important to note that the Hanseatic League only existed to encourage and support trade between members. If you were not part of the Hanseatic League, you were on your own. Typically, import taxes and tariffs were extremely high, and even just passing through one territory into another would often involve paying a lot of taxes. Where? The Hanseatic League started in North Germany, but over the years it spread west as far as the Netherlands, north as far as Sweden, and east as far as what is today Estonia. In fact, Tallinn is the easternmost city to join the Hanseatic League. It did in 1275, and 100 years later they built this giant town hall and the various other important structures that we can still visit in Tallinn today. When? The Hanseatic League got started in the 12th century, though with only a small number of members. It would reach its influential zenith in the 13th through 15th centuries, and in 1669 it ended completely. Why? Economic interest, to get paid. The guild system was a closed system. It was hard to gain membership, and so once you were in it, you were definitely going to be making some money. It was very profitable to be part of a guild that was part of the Hanseatic League. So why is the Hanseatic League important? Well, when the Roman Empire collapsed in the 6th century, Europe entered what is often called a Dark Age, though that term is a bit controversial. But what is not controversial is that the complex network of trade routes through Europe virtually totally collapsed. After the Roman Empire ended, it was sort of every man for himself. Every area had to be largely self-sufficient. Further, people didn't really like outsiders, so trade was extremely difficult. The Hanseatic League started reversing that. At first, it was just a small group of northern German towns who banded together for defense, mostly against robbers. But over time, it evolved into a large trade network that were engaging in what we would call free trade. The Hanseatic League didn't have an army, it didn't have a treasury, it didn't even have an administrative body. So why do we study it today? The first reason we study the Hanseatic League is that it spread a class of merchant elite. This group of people influenced art and culture throughout Northern Europe, including building houses like the one behind me. They would also pay for the Northern Renaissance in the same way that Italian merchants would pay for the Italian Renaissance, that is, with the profits of trade. Maybe the most important reason we study the Hanseatic League, however, is that it was an important milestone in European history. They're moving out of the Middle Ages, re-establishing trade networks, and pursuing policies based on commercial interest. This was really important because remember, these trade networks don't just move around goods. They move around people, they move around ideas, they move around art, culture, language. This set the stage for Europe exiting the Dark Ages, coming into the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. You could even make a strong argument that the Hanseatic League should be studied for people who study history outside of Europe, because in many ways the Italian merchants' domination of the Mediterranean and the Hanseatic League's domination of the Baltic Sea trade are one of the big factors pushing empires like Spain and Portugal to begin sailing south to Africa and west to the New World in search of new trade opportunities. Today, Tallinn is really proud of its guild history and its place as the easternmost city in the Hanseatic League. But the actual elites of that time would not have been ethnically Estonian. Most of them were Baltic Germans. Those people had mostly descended from Teutonic knights who had traveled to Europe in the late 1100s, early 1200s as part of the Northern Crusades to wipe out the last pagans in Europe. So even though Tallinn was a wealthy and successful city, that wealth mostly benefited a small Baltic German minority, while the local Estonians mostly occupied the position of serfs and peasants. Behind me is the Great Guild Hall of Riga, another example of a Hanseatic guild building. Riga was also an important city in the Hanseatic League, and it was also dominated by Baltic Germans in a merchant elite class. Now, this building right here is not the original. The original was destroyed in the 20th century and was rebuilt and reopened in 1999. But they did a good job. It looks really cool. Guild halls, like the one behind me here in Riga, Latvia, also served a really important social function. They gave out charity, they ran important city events, they raised money for like building projects, and they even did cool stuff like if you look over there, you'll see a marker that says that they put up a Christmas tree in 1510. That's a long time ago. I think that's all I have to say about the Hanseatic League. If you have any questions about international trade in Northern Europe at that time, please leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.